Evil. From the video and book, It Makes Sense to Believe. A true faith from God must be able to explain why there is evil, suffering, and death. In this world, the existence of evil is irrefutable if we only have a little knowledge of history and current events. In fact, when compared to the animal kingdom, it is incomprehensible the evil man can inflict upon other men, women, children, babies, elderly, and the disabled, like holocausts, serial murders, acts of terrorism, mass shootings, and other heinous acts. As discussed earlier, free will gave us the ability to choose between love and evil. It was the existence of evil that started me into taking my faith more seriously, more than 20 years ago. My wife was working with a born-again Christian who was challenging her faith. As a result, Marita pressured me about living a more conscientious Catholic life. One night, I went into the bedroom where Marita was watching EWTN, a major Catholic cable television network. I crawled in beside her and saw this video. I'll show you a segment.
Was willing to talk. Brenda Pratt Schaefer is a registered nurse who worked at Dr. Haskell's Dayton Clinic for 3 days in 1993.
At the time, I worked for a nursing agency, and nursing agencies staff different facilities like clinics, hospitals, nursing homes, and that type of thing. And they call you up and ask you if you would be willing to do an assignment. And they called me up one day, and they said that they had an assignment at the Women's Health Center here in Dayton, and would I be willing to work in there? And I told them I would, because at the time I was pro-choice, and I didn't have a problem with abortion, so I went there. When they told my agency that they wanted me, they said they did D&C abortions. They did not tell them they did any other type of abortion. So I went in there expecting to see a D&C abortion. But that's what I expected to see. I did not expect to see what happened.
On her second day at the Dayton Clinic, Brenda grew increasingly uneasy about her assignment when she witnessed the more common late-term abortion technique known as D&E, which stands for dilation and evacuation, where the fetus is dismembered while still inside the uterus and its pieces removed one by one.
I guess I didn't want to think what a baby really was, what a fetus was, what they want to call a fetus. I expected to see this big blob of tissue laying in that pan, and it wasn't. It was a baby. It was feet, it was toes, and it really started to bother me. And I thought, my goodness, if this is, this bad today, what's tomorrow going to be like? And I've often wondered why I went back that third day.
But none of Brenda's training or years of experience as a registered nurse had prepared her for her third and final day at the abortion clinic. Unaware of the events about to unfold, Brenda helped calm down a teenager 6 months pregnant.
So we took her into the operating room and started an IV Valium just to calm her down and to get her quiet, and put her in stirrups and put her feet up, and the doctor came in and brought an ultrasound machine in and hooked it up to her stomach. And this lady was very, very pregnant. She's very much showing. And as I'm looking at the ultrasound screen, I could see the baby very well. I could see the baby's heartbeat. And at this point, I wanted that baby to be dead. I didn't want to know that that baby was alive. And I saw the heartbeat. And I even asked the doctor, and he said it was the heartbeat. He wanted me to stand right beside him and watch this procedure because he wanted me to know this procedure, which I did. He went up with a pair of forceps and grabbed a leg, and I could see this on the ultrasound screen, and turned the baby because it wasn't in the position, and pulled the leg down through the birth canal and literally started bringing it outside of the mother to where he got the other leg. It's bringing it out in breech position, feet first, a very dangerous position, and continued to pull that baby out till the body was delivered, the arms are delivered, and then he stops at that point. And the baby was literally hanging there, and his little feet were kicking, and his little hands were moving, and his little arms were moving, and I couldn't believe it. I was standing there thinking, oh my God, this baby's moving, he's alive. And the doctor's holding the baby in by his 2 fingers, right? His head is just inside the mother. Because at this point, if that head slips out and he kills it, it's murder. And the doctor took a pair of scissors, like these. These are Metzenbaum scissors. And he took these scissors and plunged them into the back of the baby's neck here. And when he did that, the baby flinched out like a startle reaction. And it became very rigid. And he took the scissors and he opened them up to make a hole in the back of the baby's neck. He then took a high-powered suction machine and a catheter like this and stuck it in the hole and literally suctioned the baby's brains out. And I almost threw up. Everything that was in me, I started breathing funny. I just looked at it and I was, this isn't happening. This isn't real. And he pulled the baby's head out and the baby just went limp. It just totally went limp. And I'm standing there thinking, this baby's dead. It's gone. It's it. And he threw the baby in a pan. And I started thinking now rationally. I thought, well, maybe if I get the baby's brains and put it back in it, it'll be okay. It'll be alive. It'll be fine. But of course, that was stupid. He delivered the placenta and got the baby and took it out. It was just a procedure to him.
In order to perform on the average pregnancy a partial birth abortion, you have to do what the older obstetricians called a podalic version. Reach into the uterus, find the baby's feet, turn the baby around in the uterus, extract the feet in a breech delivery, and then just before the head is delivered, destroy the baby's life by sucking out its brain. Just that podalic version alone is a very serious threat to the future of that mother's uterus. And so rather than preserving that woman's fertility, I think very likely they would produce an incompetent cervix, which would very seriously threaten her future fertility.
But even if you wanted to bring the baby out of the mother in this fashion, even if, for some reason, I can't think of any, there is absolutely no reason to kill the kid. None. No medical reason, nothing, except that the mother wants that baby dead.
I know of no disease, no congenital anomaly where this type of procedure would be necessary in order to preserve the mother's health or to save her life. And this certainly doesn't do anything for the life of the baby.
These are seriously deformed children that we are talking about, very seriously deformed, or the mother has a very serious condition.
Well, you know, sometimes they say you can't deliver a baby because something about it is too big. I had a child delivered in 1946, presented to me with a huge mass on her abdomen that was much larger than her head and contained all of her abdominal organs. Not only was she delivered safely without hurting the mother or the baby, but I repaired that defect, put all of her abdominal organs back where they belonged, and many years later she became the head nurse of my intensive care unit at the Philadelphia Children's Hospital.
When I saw this, I sat up straight. I didn't care how few thousands of babies were annually killed this way. I just couldn't believe it was legal in our country. However, this is not what bothered me most. The next morning, I called the offices of my state senator and state representative, two people I knew well, liked, and respected highly. In both instances, their offices told me they fully supported abortion with no restrictions. Then I wondered, how can good people support this? At that moment, I stopped following the crowd and doing what everyone else did. I started to think for myself and began researching scripture and church teaching. Evil, we can see, is a mystery of free will. We cannot understand why people choose to do evil, support evil, tolerate evil, and fail to recognize evil. It is also important to notice how evil seeps into culture and takes over. For example, how racism intensified down south and spawned the Ku Klux Klan. How Nazi Germany evolved to persecute and exterminate Jews. And how, given ultrasound photos and reveal the gender parties, we came to think abortion is an acceptable medical procedure. This makes me wonder, what's next, or rather, who's next? Though evil is a great mystery, it clearly reflects man's profound freedom to choose between divine love and anti-love. When we think about man's evil inspiration, ingenuity, and bloodlust, I don't believe psychological problems or the Darwinian need to survive fully explain it. As I write this, it is the 50th anniversary of the Charles Manson murders. Manson and his followers had no connection to the people in that house. Yet the number of stab wounds on some of the victims was inconceivable. Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant, was stabbed 16 times, 5 of which were each considered fatal. So where does man's inspiration for horrific evil come from? Many people simply don't believe in the existence of Satan and hell. Yet the Son of God was crucified to save us from something dire. As mentioned earlier, while miracles are signs of God, so diabolic activity indicates the existence of supernatural evil. William Blatty's popular book, The Exorcist, though fictional, was inspired by a real exorcism decades earlier.
Hello, I'm William Friedkin, director of The Exorcist. The Exorcist is a film about the mystery of faith, and I think the fact that it's endured for more than 25 years now is due in large part to what it leaves you with after you've seen the film. It starts with a brilliant screenplay from an equally powerful novel by William Peter Blatty, and it's a story that can perhaps make you question your own value system, even your own sanity, because it strongly and realistically tries to make the case for spiritual forces in the universe, both good and evil. But what you may not be aware of is the fact that The Exorcist is based on a true story. It took place in Silver Spring, Maryland in 1949 and was widely reported by the American press. When I saw the files at Georgetown University pertaining to the actual case, I knew that this was going to be, or needed to be, something more than just another horror film. This had to be a realistic film about inexplicable events.
The docudrama, In the Grip of Evil, dramatized the true story and included an interview with a Jesuit who assisted the exorcist as a young priest. In response to skeptics, he calmly said, "All I know is that I was there and I saw it."
Audiences flocked to this story of possession by the devil. What few realized was that The Exorcist was inspired by real events. This is the true story behind The Exorcist.
Bill Blatty was an undergraduate at Georgetown University when all of this occurred, and he started taking notes on it, and over a 15-year period he put together this novel. He changed the character of the young man into a young girl. One day I picked it up on the road somewhere and read it, and I thought it was sensational. And then when he told me it was a true story, my curiosity was even more piqued. It's a classic story. It's a timeless story about timeless events, about the inexplicable nature of good and evil. I think The Exorcist has echoes into all of that. I think it represents the constant struggle that is alive in every human being on this planet, in that we are all a battlefield for good and evil.
Well, it all starts in January of '49 in Mount Rainier, Maryland, which is not too far from Washington, D.C. It's a small street. There are bungalows on it. In one of the bungalows, not too well off, but they're struggling people. There's a father and mother, a boy named Robbie, who's 13, and a grandmother. There's also another person in this situation. A frequent visitor was an aunt from St. Louis. The aunt was a spiritualist, meaning that she really does believe that when people die, They simply go to the other side and they can communicate with us, the living. They also played at the Ouija board together. And she told Robbie that the Ouija board was a way in which the living can contact people on the other side.
We were doing seemed so ineffectual, at times. Bowdern was great. He said, we started this thing and we're going to stay with it till it's over.
Holy Michael the Archangel.
10:45 p.m. The most striking event of the evening occurred. Robbie was in a seizure but lay calm.
That he would crush Satan under our feet, lest he any longer have power to hold men captive and do harm to the church. Present our prayers at the throne of the Most High, so that he may all the more speedily favor us with his mercy. Lay hold of the dragon, the ancient serpent, no other than the demon Satan, and cast him bound into the abyss, so that he may no longer seduce mankind.
In clear, commanding tones and with dignity, a voice broke into the prayers.
Satan, I am Saint Michael, and I command you, Satan, to leave the body in the name of Dominus. Immediately. Now. Now. Now.
From the snares of the devil, deliver us, O Lord, that thou wouldst assist thy church to save thee in all security and freedom. We beseech thee, hear us.
He's gone.
And Dominus is the word.
He's gone.
Dominus, the Lord. And that's the moment when the exorcism ends. In the hospital, and there are many, many witnesses to this, there's a sound which they describe as a gunshot.
A loud, loud report. And that was the time that the exorcism was over. And some of the ones that were in there saying their office, they didn't even know about the exorcism case.
And they go up into that room and he's sitting up in the bed and he's absolutely a little boy again. And he has no memory of what happened, but he does have the vision of St. Michael, the Archangel, fighting the demon.
Remarkably, across town in St. Francis Xavier Church, several Jesuit priests reported a similar vision.
It was in the evening, and all of a sudden a huge light lit up the sanctuary.
Emanating from the light in the dome high above the main altar, the priests witnessed a vision of St. Michael.
If a person wants to be skeptical, let them be skeptical. All I know is that I was there and that I saw it. I think the one person that came out of this exercise that was affected most was Bowdern.
Well, the way he put it to me, again, he was an old shoe. He was not a theologian. He didn't talk so much in theological terms. He said, Dan, any 7-year-old could tell the difference between someone who is mentally ill and someone who is possessed.
Jesus himself said, when referring to the Last Judgment, and those who fail to help people with basic needs like food, clothing, and water, that God will say to them, "Depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels." Jesus also said, "Do not fear those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul. Rather, fear him who can destroy soul and body together in hell." If the crucifixion of the only beloved Son of God does not cause us to pause and reconsider, if the socially acceptable killing of babies in the 3rd trimester or after a botched abortion does not cause us to reconsider, then I fear for us standing before God. Evil is the result of angels and humans freely choosing to live and act contrary to the love of God. To this day, it boggles my mind that Satan and his angels, who are loved by God, as well as saw and knew God, could still choose to live separated from him. How much easier it is for us, who have not seen God, to walk away from him. It became popular in my lifetime to believe hell is empty, but clearly at least Satan and the other fallen angels are there. In fact, possibly 1/3 of the host of angels rebelled against God. We should realize that not only is Satan real, but Satanism, the religion of Satan, works. Thus, the Church warns us against tapping into supernatural forces outside of Jesus Christ and the Church, such as sorcery, horoscopes, mediums, conjuring up the dead, Ouija boards, and so forth.